Hi everyone, it's Wendy here from Wendy Wise Beauty. Thanks for stopping by. Today I am finally ready to bring you my review of the new but not really new Guerlain Absolus Allegoria fragrances. This new launch, it is a reformulation and a repackaging of the Guerlain Absolus d'Orient collection, which has been around for quite a long time. This line had a lot of fans, but at the same time it also had a lot of what you can say enemies, because it was quite a line of beast mode fragrances which were leaning a bit masculine. However, quite recently Guerlain reformulated, repackaged this line. This is the old packaging, and the new packaging, it is the Aqua Allegoria bee bottle packaging, and it is not clear glass, it is colored glass like the Absolus d'Orient collection. I mean, this was also a bee bottle, it just did not have this gold filigree at the top, and now the new packaging does have this. The original fragrances, the Absolus d'Orient, these fragrances were created by Thierry Vassa, who was the nose for Guerlain prior to Delphine Yell. And from what I can see from the Guerlain website, he also did the reformulation of all the fragrances, with the exception of Rose Amira, which was formulated by Delphine Yelk. For those of you who are not familiar with this line, it is a line of fragrances from Guerlain which draws inspiration from leather. They had a leather base, a very strong woody accord. However, the heart was feminine. The fragrances were supposed to focus on the power of leather, but also the suppleness of leather. And the description of the Absolus Allegoria reformulated fragrances, it is not any different. Also, what is new about the Absolus Allegoria reformulation, it states that up to 90% of the raw ingredients are from natural sources. So I am going to go through three, and I will compare the new version of Santal Royal to my old version, and I am quite familiar with the line, so I will let you guys know from these three fragrances that I am going to review if there is a huge difference between the original formulation and the new formulation. I received this packet of samples here from a perfumery where I buy a lot of the normal Guerlain fragrances, and also I pre-ordered the brand new Guerlain Millesime Shalimar Jasmin, which just came out. I have done a review of this one. The review is already up. So I am going to start with Santal Royal. This is the original formulation, and this has always been my favorite fragrance from the series, and the one that I was also quite crazy about, it was the Oud Noble. And by comparing the notes, it does look like Oud Noble is now Oud Essential, because Oud Essential now has geranium. The other one that I could not find in the new formulation, it is Encens Mythique, and this one, it could be the one which is renamed Amira, but it is more rose dominant. I also could not find Amber Eternal and Bois Mystérieux, but Oud Noble, yeah, this one, I am a little bit concerned about it. And if it is completely gone, then I most likely will pick up Oud Noble in the old formulation, because there are still a lot of these fragrances in the perfumery. So I have here the reformulation, and this is the old formulation. When I compared the notes of the Absolus Allegoria Royal Santal, and I did this with quite a lot of the other fragrances, the notes seem to be the same. They are just some notes are arranged differently. Royal Santal, it is a leathery rose fragrance. It is a very deep rose fragrance with notes of jasmine and neroli. This one, the original one, I did love it. The rose accord in this fragrance mixed with the jasmine, it was very beautiful. And this one was not as masculine leaning as some of the other fragrances in the line. When I tried the new version and I compared it to the old Royal Santal, the original, there was not a very big difference. What I sensed immediately is that the Absolus Allegoria, this one, it is a bit more feminine. The opening, it is a bit easier on the nose, and it is for the better. The other slight difference that I noticed is that the jasmine note, it is not so pronounced in the opening as it is in the original. The neroli note is more forward. However, the jasmine note, it is also in the middle. So it is a very subtle difference that I noticed. But for me, the main difference between these two fragrances is that the new formulation, it is a bit softer, a bit easier to wear. It is not as, I would say, harsh as the original. And also due to the fact that the leather note in the new formulation, it is not as hard as a masculine, I found the reformulation not to be as smoky. But other than that, it's a very light difference. And when I compared the two fragrances, there is not such a big difference. I find, honestly, the reformulation to be a bit easier to wear. It is a bit, the opening, a bit more inviting, and I do not think that the fragrance itself, if you are a big fan of Santal Royale, that it is losing any kind of characteristic that would make this a scent that you would probably not want to pick up. Honestly, I have the original version, and the difference in the two fragrances, they are so slight. I will not pick up a new version. I will not pick up the new fragrance until I am finished with this one. But the change in this fragrance, I find it to be a positive change, because honestly, this is a fragrance that I do not wear it as often as I should. I love this fragrance, but it is not one for wearing in the office. I mostly wear the fragrance at evening time and when I am not in such closed spaces where people would mind. This is a fragrance that I did get compliments on, but sometimes the compliments were, oh, it's a beautiful fragrance. But you know, when you get a compliment at the same time where you are getting a little message that maybe this fragrance is a bit too much. The new formulation, it is not as bismuth as this one. it is a bit more decent. However, it still has excellent sillage and the lasting power is amazing. It did not lose anything in terms of lasting power. When I was sampling this, I sprayed this and I do a lot of my sampling sometimes in the evening, you know. And the next day when I woke up, I could still smell this fragrance on my wrist. So in terms of longevity, this fragrance, it's still the same. It is simply not as loud and not as masculine. And Santal Royal, it was a very polarizing scent. Either people loved it or they hated it. And one of the aspects of this fragrance that people didn't like, it was due to the leathery smoky note. Some people did get headaches from this fragrance, and I think the smokiness, it's toned down a bit, so a lot more people will be able to wear this fragrance. So I am not at all annoyed about the reformulation. Like I said, I think it is for the best. The next one, it is Rose Amira, and I am not sure if this is supposed to replace Encens Mythique or if this one and Oud Noble will be released at a later date. But I do think that this one could be the replacement because this one does have a good dose of incense and a lot of the notes are the same. By the way, guys, if it's your first time here, do consider subscribing. I am trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I do see so many of you watching my channel, but you are not subscribed. Do please consider supporting this channel by subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, and sending me some comments. For my returning subscribers, you all know how much I enjoy creating content for this channel. I love and appreciate all of you, and thank you for coming back again and again. Absolus Allegoria Rose Amira. Yeah, I think it is Princess Amira in Arabic. Guys, when I read that this one was formulated by Delphine Yelk, I was already a bit not disappointed, but I was thinking, it is not done by Thierry Vassa. It is going to be one of these fragrances. You know, Delphine Yelk, she has her own style and her fragrances are, you can say, more on the clean side, leaning a bit more towards, I would say, maybe mass market. Maybe not mass market, more towards, I would say, yeah, conventional. So I went into my testing of this fragrance with this in the back of my mind. And I must say, with this fragrance, Delphine Yelk really earned her place, I would say, as a nose at Guerlain. This one, it is a gorgeous fragrance. Absolus Allegoria Rose Amira. It is supposed to pay tribute to the rose flower. The picture of this fragrance, the pictures of the rose in the marketing material, it is so beautiful. And also the bottle, the bee bottle, yeah, combined with this rose color, but it is almost a purple violet color. It looks so beautiful. But this one, it is a new fragrance, but I am not sure if they just did a complete reformulation of Encens Mythique. This one, it is a jammy incense rose, and it contains 3 types of rose or rose ingredients. There is rose water, there is, I believe, Turkish rose absolu, and there is also Bulgarian rose. And this is combined with incense, leather, and oud. This one, it is gorgeous. When I tried this, it was not love at first sniff. The opening of this fragrance, it is not the best facet, the best phase. It is somewhat thin, and the rose water, it is in the opening note with incense. The incense, it is quite present, and when this is first sniffed, you would think, oh, this might end up being a watered down version of a rose fragrance. This is the feeling I got when I first sampled this. I sprayed it on my skin and I started on the journey. By the way, this fragrance is the 3 that I tested. When I tested these fragrances on a normal fragrance tester, the woody notes and the leather notes, they were always very present and very strong. I would recommend really that these fragrances are tested on the skin. Sorry to digress, but I just had to say this. So I was saying this one, when it is first sprayed, yeah, it is more of a subtle rose scent, yeah, and it is rose water in the opening with incense. But guys, when this fragrance gets into the heart note, when it starts to transform, this is where the magic happens. The rose in the heart note of the fragrance, there are different phases where you can sense different levels of this rose fragrance, and being that the incense note is stronger in the beginning of the fragrance, when the heart note really kicks in, the incense note, it is a bit softer, and the incense combined with this beautiful rose accords, it is absolutely gorgeous. In the heart note of the fragrance, it is where the rose, it becomes jammy, it becomes a bit more intense, but mixed with the incense, it sort of explodes, it airs out a bit, and it is very, very beautiful and special. Honestly, when I got to the heart note of this fragrance, you know, after having this on my skin for about 15 minutes, then I was like, yes, finally a fragrance from Delphine Yelk that really does it for me. The rose becomes jammy and it becomes more explosive, but it is not an edgy rose, it is not an aggressive rose. It is just stunning. I also love it that the incense note, it does amplify this rose a bit, but it never overpowers this beautiful rose aroma in the heart of the fragrance. It is really a powerful but a beautiful bouquet. The base of Rose Amira, it is not a very hard, strong leather base. It is a soft, silky, supple leather base. And in this stage of the fragrance, the rose accord, it is almost silky. It is so pretty, this fragrance. In the dry down, it is just really the biggest payoff that you can get in a fragrance. I do get some nice patchouli in this fragrance. It is there. It is a bit of an earthy patchouli, but it is not a patchouli that I think would bother anyone. It adds depth to the fragrance, but it is not at all disturbing this beautiful rose bouquet. I have seen a few reviews about Rose Amira, and this fragrance, it is being compared to Portrait of a Lady, which is a fragrance I do have. Portrait of a Lady, it is also a bit of a dark jammy rose fragrance. However, this fragrance, it is totally different. Portrait of a Lady, it does have a bit of a pencil sharpener note, which remains through the life of the fragrance. I do like Portrait of a Lady. I have it. I did compare the two scents. Other than that, they are two, I would say, jammy, dark rose fragrances. I do not see any inspiration of Portrait of a Lady. Also, I have seen people mentioning La Petite Robe Noire. This is also from Guerlain. And this fragrance was also formulated by Thierry Vassa. This is also a rose fragrance. It is a deep rose, and this one also has a leather note. I have compared the two fragrances. They are not similar. Also, this fragrance, the leather in the dry down, it is a bit stronger. I do like this, but at times the leather can pull a bit too strong. This one, I do have the Eau de Toilette version, and this is a beautiful fragrance. It is discontinued, but if you can get your hands on this, it is well worth it. I absolutely adore this fragrance due to the fact that it is complex. There is a nice olfactory journey. The leather note in this fragrance, it is very feminine. It is a silky, supple leather, and I absolutely adore this. This is definitely one to try, and this is really a very opulent, dark, silky, beautiful rose fragrance. The next one we are going to talk about, it is Absolus Allegoria, and this one, it is called Cuir Intense. This one has notes of leather, osmanthus, tobacco, sandalwood, and cedar. In the new version, the opening is a lot softer, and the leather, it's not as hard in your face, masculine. And as stated, this is one of the differences I can see in the reformulation, is that these fragrances, they are not as harsh and they are not as the opening overtly masculine. I was expecting the same bismuth, smoky, leather, masculine fragrance, and this one, it is the same Cuir Intense, but it is a bit more inviting, a bit more wearable. I would say for those of us who found the Absolus L'Orient, the original version, to be too masculine, or maybe the smoky note was too much. The opening of this fragrance, it's very beautiful. The osmanthus note, it is very pronounced, and combined with the cedar, it makes for this inviting opening, a bit more floral, and it is a bit of a fresh opening as opposed to the original where it was more smoky leather. The tobacco note in Cuir Intense, it comes much later, even though it is listed in the opening of the fragrance. This one does not have a very long opening. I mean, it opens with this blast of osmanthus and cedar, and then the heart note of the fragrance is there. It is a beautiful musk accord, and then the leather note kicks in. Another difference I sensed in this fragrance is that the musk accord, it is very full. It is a very You can say almost like a dense musk accord. Leather fragrances, sometimes they are very dry and almost like straw. The musk accord, it's hard to explain. I can only call it full, and it makes this leather note combined with the tobacco and the oud. It makes this more wearable, more bearable. This is actually a beautiful fragrance. The older version, it was a fragrance I would never think of calling beautiful. It is the same fragrance, but this subtle change in the notes, the way the musk behaves, it makes this a lot more inviting and a lot more wearable. The base of Cuir Intense, it is ylang ylang, cedar, sandalwood and tobacco. Honestly, the tobacco note is really present in the base of this fragrance. I timed this and let me see, what did I write? About 45 minutes of having this fragrance on my skin, I could really sense this tobacco accord. And the leather note, it is not dry leather, it is not harsh leather. The musk note is still there. It is more like a damp leather note. There are some floral accords, and this is really pretty. I do also have this one on my list. I do need to play with this a lot more. I must honestly say the samples, they were not full. I would have loved to have gotten maybe 3 wears out of this, but this one, it is also a nice rendition of this fragrance. I do have the older version in my head. I cannot really tell you exactly how close it is to the original like I can with Santal Royale, but from the fragrance I have in my head, it is still the same fragrance. It is just that it is a bit friendlier, and those of us who were not able to wear the original, this one is a possibility. My take on the reformulation of these fragrances, it is for the better. These fragrances now, they are a bit softer, they are a bit more wearable. They are not as headache inducing as the Absolute, the Orient version, the old formulation. My Santal Royale, it is still the same fragrance, but it is just a little bit more feminine. Easier to wear, I would say, but I do not feel that they violated this fragrance in any way or something was taken away from me. From the 3 fragrances I have tried, I can really say that the reformulation is really nothing that people who love these fragrances should be afraid about. I think when products are a bit more inclusive, that it is for the general good. Anyway guys, this is it for this one. Thanks for listening to my crooning. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. I will link the video to Shalimar Millesime Jasmin to this one, and also I have tried Paris Patchouli and the review is coming up. So I think Guerlain is back, and it is one of my favorite fragrance houses, so I think it is going to be a fragrance year. Take care, have a lovely rest of day, and hope to see you guys again soon on my channel. Tschüss!